Hey, lovies. Welcome to Naked at Night with Ginger Wolf. Today, our guest is Alana from the Becoming Me podcast.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming. It's such a pleasure to have you as my second guest.
Of course. I'm so excited to be here. It's just so exciting to just shed the the heavy stuff for a hot second and, just to come on and be, I'm myself in that way as well. But, just to be myself and, the crazy self that I have, because there's two sides to me. So,
Right. To have the opportunity to show a side that you don't normally get to see because you're not going to be as lighthearted on a podcast talking about trauma as maybe you are about love, intimacy, and relationships.
Right. Exactly.
Right? So just for those that don't know, tell us a little bit about, your childhood and like what was the dynamic like in your home? What was your parents' marriage like? Were you in a two-parent home growing up?
No. So I had a very interesting setup. My childhood in and of itself is like its own podcast, which is why I, started a podcast. So I started a podcast called Becoming Me with Alana Wilson. My podcast is a mental health podcast for survivors of trauma. Originally, it started off as like more of a focus on childhood trauma, and now I'm starting to realize the benefits of really opening up into, just trauma in general. But yeah, my childhood was, very sad in different ways. I was bullied. My father wasn't there. So my father and my mother were engaged. And then they separated, before I was born. And he left around the time I might have been like 3, and he, abandoned us and never came back. So, that was sad. But I, kind of just like growing up, it was just very much, myself, and my brother and, us just playing. But, we lived in this house where my, grandmother was, she could be cruel, very cruel. And she was, because we lived with our grandmother, my mom and me and my brother lived with our grandmother. And then, my uncle had, abused me and whatnot, sexually, and physically. Yeah, it is what it is. But, I am healing now. I'm on a forward trajectory. And I'm really loving the way my life is going now. And sometimes you realize that everything happens for a reason, right? Everything is, happening because it's meant to help you to get to be a relatable person to other people. You can't relate if you haven't lived. So that's something that I'm starting to realize. As for the rest of my childhood, like I said, I was bullied. There was a lot of racial trauma in terms of, being called the N-word and, all sorts of different things. But, I had a lot of traumas, growing up and whatnot. But my, it was just interesting. Like, I think that all the ways that I grew up essentially led me into the types of relationships that I was in. So yeah.
I totally understand that. I have said many times on other podcasts that I believe I was picked as a victim by my boss and for what happened to me in prison because of personality markers, and people pleasing, what's the word I'm looking for? People pleasing attributes, people pleasing actions. I believe that that's why they picked me, because they figured I would hold their secret for them and that I would essentially allow somebody to abuse me without, you know what I mean?
Right.
Without like giving them permission and it being a consensual thing. It's basically her personality is right to where she's not gonna cause problems right away, and I'm gonna be able to get away with this.
I talked about this on one of my first podcast episodes with Jocelyn, and in her podcast we talked about grooming. And how grooming, sometimes grooming doesn't just look like, oh, it's, a man, testing the waters with a child. You can groom full-blown adults. and just kind of like inching and testing the waters and just seeing how far you can go with a certain person and if they're going to keep your secret safe.
Yep. And they come as your friend. And a lot of times they push small boundaries. And then if you push back, they say that they were just kidding. And you're making a big deal about it. And it's not the way it looks. Yeah, I've heard it all. I totally understand.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, what is your ethnic background? Like what race do you identify as?
Yes. So it's kind of a little bit of a long story, but I'm going to like condense it because we just have to, like, I can't walk through life not condensing it. But so my mom is half Portuguese Vincentian, so half so she's from she's descendant of Portugal,
right?
And they migrated to St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the Caribbean.
Okay.
And so my grandmother's like a white Caribbean woman.
I could see that.
And and then my grandfather, so my mom's dad, is he's black, Grenadian and Trinidadian.
Okay.
Again, the islands,
right.
the Caribbean. And then my father is fully Jamaican. So he's like, half black, half white Jamaican, and he's, like, green eyes and, very light skin, but, it's strange. Like, the way it kind of mixes and like the way I can kind of like just become a mutt, essentially, like,
you're
with
the most
things.
beautiful
So people
mutt I've ever seen.
Oh, you're
so
sweet.
You have the best caramel colored skin. Like you look like the most inviting latte.
Oh, you're the sweetest. Thank you so much. I love to hear that. I can tend to be a little bit insecure about myself sometimes because of
you're beautiful. Your eyes light up a room, and so do your smile.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, like I tend to be a little bit insecure about like my weight, especially in dating. But it's definitely something that people don't know about me a lot of the time is that I actually struggle with insulin resistance, very, very bad. And it impacts like so many aspects of my life whether it be fertility, whether it be obviously like dating and my weight, love relationships, it impacts, like I have a skin disorder called HS disease. So it's, I get these like things on my skin, like very painful. And, it's just crazy the way it like affects like so many different things, by just having your insulin like act
not
different.
regulated.
Yeah.
So no, it's a big deal within your body. So if that's off, I would imagine that you don't feel well either sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely because it's a hormonal imbalance. Essentially, like it affects, everything. Like I actually have like issues with my uterus and with like TMI people, but periods. Like with the way I bleed and whatnot, my periods, which does impact fertility and my ability to conceive. But also I have the skin irritation, the skin issues, and I've had them for years, since I was like 10. And it actually runs in my grandmother's family. So it's crazy.
How did that impact your childhood? Did you ever feel like people didn't understand your plight, and were you bullied for, your weight? Because I know that people struggle with insulin resistance, struggle with their weight. Like you have weight that goes up and goes down. And I also know that like if you have skin issues, it's like anxiety makes it worse, and stress can make it worse.
Stress makes it worse. Periods make it worse.
Right.
Because it's like these like pimple things, like cysts and whatnot. They come up and
boils
a period with the hormonal imbalance. Here we go again. And I think it's so important to talk about HS disease because it's something that embarrasses so many people. But it's so healthy to talk about, like, things that happen with you and, that other people might feel like they're all alone, suffering with these things. They don't even know, what it's called. They don't know like what, what's going on with it. So I think it's so important to, to share, what I had going on with my HS disease. But I've had it since I was little. And
how old were you when you were actually diagnosed?
Just recently, actually, like maybe 2-3 years ago is when
you suffered. How old are you?
I'm 25.
So you suffered for 2 decades of your life with something that you didn't know what you had, did you ever feel like it was your fault and there was something wrong with you?
Yes, 100%.
I felt,
I just felt, because growing up in, because it's interesting because growing up, my childhood, like I was bullied and, I had low self-esteem and my father wasn't there. So it was just this, constant wondering of like, what's wrong with me? But I didn't, like in the past podcasts I've been on with Ian's podcast and Kevin Lanning's podcast, I talked more about like my younger childhood, and 13 and whatnot, but, 13 and below. But like even afterwards, it's interesting to talk about what my childhood, what my teen years were like. And, I felt really bad about myself. And I, also being bigger, I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood.
That was my next question.
Mm-hmm.
That was literally
and my next growing up in a predominantly white neighborhood,
as a mixed
lot of the
girl
women, a mixed West Indian Jamaican woman.
Jamaica.
There's this like expectation that girls should be small and tiny and stick-like and short and and there's that
I know, girl.
Yeah. And so it's just like this like expectation that, we should just be small and little and
take up no space.
Yeah. And so that made me feel bad about myself. Yep. And I realized like back then I wasn't even that big. And it kills me because I'm like, now I'm that big and I wish I could be that big, that small. But it just kills me because I'm like, I wasn't, I was just a healthy, slim, thick woman at that time. And
I had the same realization because I was looking at pictures of me in 7th grade when the Fatty G stuff started. I was built like a girl that played sports.
Yes. There was nothing
and like
wrong.
A girl was going to have 34 double G movies when she got older. I mean,
yeah, there's nothing wrong.
So relate to that. And it's
with that.
It sucks too because for me, it really, it ruled how I viewed myself and it ruled how I interacted with people. I became the funny girl because if you're going to be fat, you better be funny because nobody has time for you if you're not funny and you're fat.
Have you heard the song Fat Funny Friend? I'm forgetting who it's by. But if you just type in Fat Funny Friend, guys, that song, it talks about I break the ice, because something about my size and, I have to be nice. Like I'm the girl, in the movie that's like the best friend instead of
never the lead love interest
because you can't be the lead love interest because you're not like the small, tiny, skinny girl. And
which kills me because, I've never ever heard a rule of love that because you are not a certain size, you can't find love. There is somebody for everybody, baby. There's BBW women all over the internet making buku money because men think that they are beautiful. You just need to find your audience.
Yep, exactly. So, for me, it just was very, but guys, growing up in high school,
in
like
this area that you were in,
that area, they didn't want to talk to me. They like, and it was weird because what I come to realize as I got older was like, maybe some of them actually did like me,
right?
And that was just their response being in high school, being, they themselves are probably immature and
being judged by their friends,
of like, oh, this is a black girl. This is a, because it was a racist area, for the most part. And so it was this,
like, 2 strikes against you already.
Yeah. Just being different, looking different. I hated it at that time. So yeah.
Do you think it's a blessing now? Because like I said, I think you're beautiful. I see a beautiful, strong, smart woman who doesn't need anybody.
Thank you.
So to me, that is so powerful. But like as a teen, let's go back to like your preteen age, like when you're first starting, like 13, 14, you first get your first crush. What was that like for you? Was your first crush reciprocated or no?
So that's a funny,
sounds like a good
question.
Story.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And it's funny, I completely forgot. It's like I forgot about it until you mentioned it. But it was actually the next door neighbor. I had just moved to upstate New York, and my reaction. So like I would see him in the street and whatnot. Like my brother used to, play basketball with him and whatnot. And I would see him in the street and I would literally walk away and walk in the opposite direction, because it's funny because my grandmother taught me from young of like, oh, if a boy likes you, you gotta like stab him. Or,
yeah,
like,
be mean to him.
If a boy likes
like
you,
that shit, girl.
yeah, like if a boy likes you, like stab him with a pin, or if a boy likes you, like then he shouldn't, and like whatever. And but instead of it being like you're the bad person, like you're the little whore, you're the little problem, it was them. She was just like, no, like you gotta protect yourself from the whatever.
That's refreshing to hear, because there's so many women that I've heard that feel the burden of how men view them is their responsibility, and that they have that weight to carry and they don't.
No, my grandmother, she was not like that at all. She was very
from the islands. Those girls don't play, baby. I see them girls mad in prison. The accent comes out of nowhere. Everybody run! She's got a blade, and she knows how to use it.
I'm screaming.
So serious, bro. You don't even understand.
Literally, yeah. No, this was so. This kid. I just didn't know what to do with that. And, I liked him so much. I liked him all my high school years. And, I would like other kids like along the way and whatnot. But like this was a consistent crush that I had like for years. From like the time I was like 13 to like 18. Mm-hmm. And like, and then even afterwards, like it was just more of like a pining after this person, like, puppy love kind of thing. But he was a year older than me. He was my brother's age. And, I like him and my brother would like do basketball tournaments and different things. And like, I would go. And so we'd all be in the car together going different places and we'd hang out with the mom. But I was so mean to this kid. And I feel so bad because it was just like, again, my grandmother and just hearing my grandmother and then also being nervous myself and like being like, I don't know what to do when I like somebody. Like, how do I respond to that? And so the situation was he ended up one day, and I think he definitely liked me. He asked me out like a few times. Mm-hmm. And I kept saying no. It was just crazy because it was like, he's doing the work for you. He's doing half the work for you. You should just say yes. But I'm like, what do I do now? Like, what do I do then? What do I do if he asks me? Is he kidding? Is it because there was this game called Oreo at that time where, the boys would ask you out and then they would say, just kidding or whatever. And they'd walk away and it was, and so I'd have like, you could never know who, especially middle school. Yeah. You could never know who was playing Oreo with you. And so.
That sounds horrible. It does not sound like a joke I would want to be a part of.
Literally. I still to this day, I don't know if he was playing Oreo, but I have such a feeling he tried so hard.
He genuinely liked you.
He tried so hard.
Did you stab him?
He followed me to I almost did. No, I'm kidding. He came to my house. He followed me with all the neighborhood boys to my house and he banged on the door. And like he would yell into because I had an air conditioner in my window, so it made it like easier to hear things from outside, like who was outside, what was going on. And so I would just hear, Alana, go out with me, into my air conditioner window. And literally I just was like, it would be killing me inside. Like I want to say yes, but I'm like, I don't know if it's a joke. Like he's probably like joking around with me or something. He ends up going to the front door and banging on the front door, and finally like he just kept requesting me on Instagram, and I would just deny, request, deny,
this poor guy.
And literally it kills me. He's married now, but yeah, it was so sad. For years I was finally when I got to a point to where I was mature enough to be like, no, I would totally go out with him. Then at this point he was the popular kid
and he's dating somebody,
and he was dating this girl who was a stick thin white girl, and I don't want to
bring up feelings for you.
Oh, absolutely. Prom night, she was, he took her to prom. The limo came outside in the front of the block. And I had to watch her with her long cascade dress go into the limo and get in the limo. And I cried that day. I bawled my eyes out that day. and just feeling like, you know, like I just want to be good enough. Like why can't I be good enough to go out with this guy? But it was like, it killed me because I almost completely forgot the years ago, you know, he was trying to get me to go out with him. But at the same time, I'm like, but still to this day, I'm like, I don't know if he was kidding.
Maybe he switched roles because he felt rejected.
Yeah.
So I've done stuff like that. Well, because I tend to pursue men. I don't like men that pursue me for the most part. They make me nervous. You remember my first sexual experience? I was raped by my boss.
Yeah.
I'd never had sex.
First.
Yeah,
wow.
I'd never had sex before that. I'd never done anything before that.
I'm so sorry.
Like nothing. Like, so, I mean, I think I had kissed one boy before, you know, prior to that.
Wow.
So yeah, for me, I feel like that really shaped how I viewed like men, and like I didn't really relate to kids my age because by the time I was 14, I was like smoking pot with my dad, and you know, by 15 I'd been raped by my boss, but I didn't view it like that. I mean, I did, but I didn't. I felt like it was my fault, and like something I did or said invited it, right? So I just felt like, well, that was your fault that happened, and like you didn't physically fight him off, like try to kill him or anything. Like you just let the drugs, you just let it happen, you know. So, and I stayed away from like going places with people because of that, because like as a kid, like I wanted to go to the club that we were going to, but I didn't want to have sex with them, you know what I mean? And like after he had given me the drugs, I remember like on the ride home he kept touching me, and I kept like being like, you have to stop, like because I had like the drug, it was just like, give me ecstasy or something, or Molly or something. This is like early 2000s, so it's probably ecstasy. And it was like an ecstasy. It's called Club Evolution was the name of it. But I remember him telling the bouncer that I was like 18 and I'm like 15 years old and all this stuff. But either way, like that experience for me really changed the way that I looked at like my peers.
Right.
And I never would have really pursued, you know, a peer. I only dated in high school. I had like 2 boyfriends that were my age, and that was it.
Wow.
And they didn't last that long,
right?
You know, a lot of it too was because like I was working or I was doing whatever, you know, and it just didn't align.
I feel like
with what kids
I
my age
don't
were
like
doing.
that there's this expectation that people in high school should be with somebody, because I felt like they're like, oh, you're gonna go out on a date, and like it was always this expectation of like, oh, you should have a boyfriend by now, you should have sex by now, you should do these things by now, and I didn't have sex until I was 17. And, you know, so for me, it was just this feeling of like, oh, I literally lost my virginity in a way that I should not have lost my virginity, you know, by this older guy that I met online saying that I was 18.
Oh, okay.
And it's a situation where it's like, if that pressure wasn't so like prevalent and so there on, you know, on women and like small, you know, young girls to have sex, you know, it doesn't even mean like, oh, we should be, you know, there should just be no pressure to have sex, to not have sex, to, you know, I don't like that there's this expectation to have sex or to have a boyfriend or to, you know, have all these sexual experiences, to have a kiss. I didn't even get kissed until that time because I was trying to rush the situation.
You and I are so similar, and I think it had to do because I was bullied for my weight as well, within my own family and within the neighborhood and the school. And I was taller than everybody as well. And I had this big personality that people just didn't have room for.
Yes.
So it's interesting to see because I had the same mindset about sex that you did.
Right.
Even before it happened, I remember thinking that I wanted it to just be like that. Just have sex and be done with it. Right. And I was worried about it being with somebody that like I was really committed to, because then if it's not any good or it sucks or if we break up after, then it's devastating. But I remember after the experience, you know, with my boss and me trying to make sense of it, I remember thinking, well, maybe I should be grateful because I didn't have to go through like a dramatic breakup. I didn't have to go through worrying like if it was done right or like because I don't remember a lot of it. I just remember part
horrible.
of it. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
So, and then I felt like a part of me before I realized he was telling everybody in the business that he raped me. I remember thinking, well, I don't have to worry about people talking about me. And then once I realized that like people are talking about me as if like I had a choice or like some part in this other than wanting to go to the club, and like it just kind of happened, and like now I don't even know what to do with it. But it's just interesting to see the way the mind works,
right?
To try to, because what I hear you saying is I was trying to protect myself from getting hurt by linking up with somebody where it had no connection, or linking up with someone that was older that maybe like wasn't in my circles.
Yes.
And so the next guy I dated was much older than me.
So this guy was he was 22 and I was 17. It's kind of, I don't want to say, because it's not my fault, but it was kind of like you
were open to it.
Yeah, I told him because I went on Tinder. And yeah, I
was 17. They didn't have Tinder when I was that age. I barely could get on Facebook.
Yeah, I was on Tinder, and because it was a situation where I was like, you know what, like if I'm there's no way I'm gonna lose my virginity if I don't like do some kind of online dating or something.
Right.
And I was just like, because how am I gonna meet people? Like the guys in my school want nothing to do with me. I was just like, I have to go online or whatever. And so I said I was 18 and I went on Tinder. This is when Tinder like just came out. So this was like, at this time, Tinder was just for sex. And, and
isn't it just for sex now? Or no?
It is, but now it's more like, you can find like other types of people on there. Like there's lots of people that find, like my cousin found her significant other on there.
Okay.
And they've been together for years. And, like there's like, that's what I was trying to do, was find a relationship. But I didn't understand. This guy was like my first heartbreak. My first time, my first heartbreak, my first everything. He was 22, I was 17, and he was like just, it was just interesting. Like he would show up, he would pull up in his car, and, we would go and, talk and whatnot. But I had a feeling like he was trying to like get me to like, give it up. And eventually I did. I did, but it was a situation where he was, literally like we finished doing what we were doing, and I bled in his car on the back seat, and he was like so mad about it. And he took me he's just like, all right, let's just go to McDonald's. So we go to McDonald's. This is right after it happened, mind you. And so I'm like, he's not even going to take me out to like go eat or anything.
Right.
Like, took me to McDonald's. And then next thing you know, I just see like someone turn, like I just see him because he's driving in the front seat. He left me in the back seat. I was like shivering because I was just, I guess it was shock or,
right.
whatever the situation. Right. It was so painful. So painful.
Right.
And like, he just turns around like this. And I'm like, what's up? What are you doing? He's like, your card. So he wanted me to pay for our Happy Meals. I was screaming. He wanted me to pay for our Happy Meals after what we did and after everything. Mind you, like afterwards, like I was worried about like, whether or not I was pregnant. And
right.
Even though like nothing, it
right.
wasn't, you use the condom and,
Right. I was the same way.
Yeah. I used to, at that time I used to, think about it, worry about it, be hyper aware.
Terrified every month.
Yeah.
Terrified.
Yes. But he literally, like, I texted him that, like, oh, I'm going to go get tested for, whatever. And, see if I'm pregnant or see, like if I have a disease or whatever. Right. And literally he goes, oh, don't ever talk to me again. And then finally he pops back up like a month later and he's just like, and then that situation ended up ending because.
Thank God.
Yes, because We weren't even together at all.
Right,
Like he refused to commit to me the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much like all of my relationships have not even been real relationships. They've just been situationships, long-term situationships. One of them was a relationship, but it was never like an in-person situation. So yeah, it's just like I'm bouncing all around here with all my different stories. But
I'm following you.
Yeah, this guy, he's like, this is years later now, like, or not years later, I'd say like a year later. He ghosts me, like he comes back around and hangs out and then ghosts me again. And I was devastated, like yearning for him for months, wondering where he was. He was my first love. I loved him. And then next thing you know, this is great. I literally one day I'm like, I'm not even going to put on makeup. My mom's a visiting nurse at this time. So she goes to, upstate New York area and, she'll go and visit these different people.
Right.
Tell me why. We go to, my mom's like, oh, let's just stop for some Spanish food. I'm like, oh, I don't have any makeup on, whatever. And it's the next town over from where the guy lives. But I didn't think anything of it. Right. I'm thinking like, oh, I don't have makeup on.
How long had it been since you'd seen him at this point?
It had been months. Like it'd been like maybe 4 months, something
barely
like that.
Even on your radar.
Yeah. And like every day I was thinking about it. Every day I was crying about him. Every day I was so upset about him. Tell me why I'm sitting there in this Spanish restaurant and my back is to the door. My mom is in front, in front of me, but she can see the door. But my back is to the door, and next thing you know, she sees him walk in with another girl. And my mom, she goes, and I'm like, what's wrong, Mom? And because I can't see where, them coming in behind me.
Right.
And she's just like, nothing. Nothing. And finally, my mom's just like, just stay facing me. Just stay facing me. And so now I'm finally like, okay, I got to turn around.
Like, what's going on?
Because what is going on? And sure enough, there he is walking in. This is the summertime now, walking in with this girl that looks like an absolute crackhead. Like, mind you, like this girl she's skinny. She's like, and it's not to say that, oh, everybody that's skinny looks like a crackhead. Right. No, but like you could tell in her hair, her face,
she's
like
not taking care of
she's
herself.
not taking care of herself. Like I was just like, oh my God. And like, and he walks in and he sees me and he just keeps walking and sits at the table over in the back and pretends like he didn't see me. And so I literally run I was so upset. I was crying. I ran out crying out of the restaurant. My mom couldn't leave it alone, right? So, because she met him. She knew him.
Right.
And she walks right up to the table and, he left the charger in the back of the car that we were in because my mom drove us to like one place or whatever, and my mom my mom comes to the car and she's just like, where's his charger? I'm like, what? And she's like, where's his charger? And so my mom picks it up and it's like a specific kind of looking charger too. This isn't just like any regular charger. So she picks it up and she brings it to his table, slams it down on the table, and she goes, you left this at our house.
Good for her. Good for her.
And she said, oh, when you were dating my daughter?
Yeah.
She said, you left this at our house a few months back.
Couldn't even be bothered to just
the girl's
acknowledge that you saw her.
Yep. The girl's just like, what? What's going on? Whatever this and that. Like, oh, hell no.
The crackhead comes to life. I love it.
Oh, hell no. Whatever this and that. And, she like throws her drink in his
probably
face and like
walks
away. And he's sitting there. My mom said he was sitting there like this, like all hunched over in his chair.
Defeated. Like you should be.
Exactly. And so like he left. And then, I heard from him a few months later, he was like, oh, just checking in on you for COVID. Because it was COVID a few months after that. Like not a few months, maybe like a year or two after that. And then, he checks in and, and I just talked to him briefly. And then after that, like he's just been watching my profile for years now and not saying anything. And I'm like, you know what? Clearly like this person is just like, I'm so over him. He's like not moving up in life at all. it's just like, oh
Good
my
riddance.
God. Yeah, I like watches my TikToks like religiously, and I'm like, yeah, not for it. But you know, that was my first, like that was my first, you know,
first real love.
My first kiss with him was horrible. It was,
tell me about it.
And mind you, I'm 17. And
okay.
Again, this is my first kiss, and this guy literally, like, I feel like he swallowed my face.
The soul sucker strikes again.
He swallowed my face. Like, yes.
Was he like a Saint Bernard to her, just slobbering?
Yes. But when he was done, and I was so like, I didn't move my face. I couldn't.
Fucking traumatized.
You know, like with lips, you're supposed to go like, okay, like bottom lip, top lip, bottom lip, top lip, smooch,
little
bottom
bite,
lip, top lip. You know,
little slip of the tongue,
a little bit tongue, just a little bit. We don't want too much tongue.
We're not frog.
But this guy
fucking geckoed you.
I swear to, like, because his lips were really big too. Yeah. But when I was done, like my nose, like my top lip, like above my top lip, my nose was just covered. My bottom, my chin,
just slobber.
Covered in slobber, and like. I was just like so disgusted. I was like, I hate kissing. And so I would tell people I hate kissing. When really I hate kissing the wrong person.
Yeah.
I want to kiss the right person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He just did it wrong. Yes. You know? So, yeah.
If you were to go back to 17-year-old you, what would you tell yourself? For those relationships, like, would you have said, "Hey, wait for marriage," or would you have still probably said, "We're still going to do this. It just ain't the right candidate."
That's probably what it is, because I was determined.
It's just not the right candidate.
When I think about it, like I had to lose it at some point.
Right.
That was what it was. It was a situation of like, you know what? I had to lose it at some point. It just depends on who, you know, it was a matter of who it was going to be. I probably could have chosen somebody better, but at the same time, I've never, still to this day, I can say that I've never had better in terms of like, yeah, I've had, you know, good sexual encounters, but I haven't had like a decent kind of guy, like, you know, for, you know, I recently have just been out, you know, out with somebody that took me on a date. So like, we're getting better at least with that, but like still like complete assholes. Still complete, like, horrible people.
Where are you looking for men?
Oh, I've looked so many different places. The way that I really try is through word of mouth, but I do online dating, all types of dating, not just Tinder anymore. I got off of Tinder completely. Lately it's been Hinge. I've been on Hinge. I've been on, you know, all these different apps and whatnot. I've even tried meeting people at work. I've tried different types of work scenarios, but it's hard.
That was going to be the next question is, would you ever date anybody that you worked with?
Yeah. You know, it's hard. It's hard to find somebody that is, you know, in a work environment and, you know, whether or not they're gonna like want to, you know, do that with you or, you know, like explore things.
Is it worth the risk of I have to see you every day if this goes badly, or I have to quit my job?
Right. Exactly. That's pretty much what it is. Like it was, I had a crazy work dating situation too with this guy who just completely manipulated me. Like he didn't even, you know, try to like do anything with me. Like I was down at that time to do anything.
Like sexually? You
mean? With the guy. And he had a son, you know, I had the biggest crush on him and, you know, but he would flirt with me, but then he would friend zone me. Right. And so it was just this consistent, and not just friend zone me.
That's the worst. The yin and the yang, the back and the forth. I can't stand it. I need you to be hot or cold. And I can't have you be in between.
Exactly.
It's so confusing for me because I'm things are black and white, and it weighs on me because I want clear endings too. I need to know like where we are. If things don't feel like they're moving forward, then they're regressing. If we're regressing, are we ending? Because that's how it feels. Exactly. Right.
Exactly.
So tell me your thoughts on like what it looks like now. Like how important are looks, education, career when it comes to choosing a partner?
Yeah. So I'm starting to get more picky because guess what? I'm a very learned individual and I'm becoming more accomplished. So this is the thing, like I will date, like I have dated, my last relationship was actually a guy in jail. And
that was
probably one of the biggest, probably one of the biggest heartbreaks of my life. Which I'm honestly still going through a little bit.
Was he in jail when you met?
Yes.
How did you meet?
So, okay. So this
Tell me.
I'm like, you're going to kill me. You're not going to kill me. Society's going to kill me when they hear this. But I like got swept up in that trend, of, you know, the right of prisoner trend.
Yeah. Hey, I made a lot of money from pen pals in prison, and I wasn't actually looking for money. Everybody assumed I was looking for money. I never asked a pen pal, not once, for money, and I felt that I really just wanted somebody to write because I was going nuts. I was trying to not get in trouble.
Right.
But like I developed really good friendships at the time with those people, and then money just started to randomly come in.
Wow.
It was never like a deceitful thing with me. I
Mm-hmm.
could have went that way and I probably would have made a fuck ton of money.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But I was just really blessed that I ended up with people that were, you know, good people. You know, it sounds like you were looking for something similar.
Yes.
But you can make genuine relationships. I know there are lots of scams that go on, particularly with the men. They'll write 3, 4, 5. I mean, the women do it too. Don't get me wrong. I had multiple pen pals, but I never committed to anybody. I never promised anyone I was coming home with them. Yes. I never told anybody we were dating or in a relationship.
Good.
I never said, hey, I need money in order to do this. It was, they would ask, like, you know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like, because I never wanted to feel, I was always worried that, like, if I led somebody on, that they would try to come find me after, and like something horrible would happen. Because I heard stories about that. There were women that were killed because they went home with pen pals from prison.
Wow.
You know, like everybody's different, but it's interesting because I have seen them be successful and I have seen them be genuine, where it's usually the woman meets the man. I have not seen anywhere the man meets the woman and she's locked up and she goes and stays with him and it lasts longer than a few years. Yeah. But I have seen it with the men.
Let me tell you, I was so in love with this guy. I still love him. If I'm being honest with you, I still love him. But it was a situation where, and it's so important for people to know that, yes, you know, they're just because somebody's in prison, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are a bad person or like that they are, you know, definitely using you. But it is also important to know that there is a high risk of them, their feelings changing because of the fact that they are in an environment,
controlled environment,
a limited controlled environment where they don't, you know, they're in a box and they can't,
they're caged
and they can't come to their own conclusion of like if they love you or not, like on the outside. Like that's where it's important. And there have been success stories, and that's what I was going off of when I originally sent my message to him. But I sent him a message and, you know, he answered right away. And it was actually a choice between, because I sent 2 messages just in case. I was like, let me not put all my eggs in one basket. I sent 2 messages. One of them, thank God, I didn't end up going with because the guy was like absolutely crazy. But another one I actually spoke to, and you know, which is the guy that I was speaking to, and it's been 3 years of just back and forth on and off with this guy. You know, but he was, you know, just very like, you know, he could be very, you know, verbally abusive at times when he was in there. You know, he, you know, would just tell me all these things about myself, and, you know, he like just wasn't a nice person when he was in there. But then when he got out, like he was so kind and so loving and nice. But I realized that he's starting to lose feelings for me. And to have to watch this person, like I waited for him the whole rest of his sentence, which took like 2 years, like 1.5 to 2 years for him to get out.
What were you doing for him during this time? Were you visiting? Were you sending money? Were you connecting with his family?
I was both. I was connecting with his family. I was sending little bits of money here and there, not
That's
much.
okay. That's fine.
I was going up to visit him. It was an hour and a half drive away to go visit him.
And then you spend money at the visit, you spend money on the travel there.
Yeah, yep, the money on the travel there, the gas and whatnot. And
right.
I felt like, this is the thing, I don't think he was lying to me. For a while I thought he was lying to me as to whether or not he was in love.
It was probably very genuine. And
yeah.
then, like you said, things change. It's very confusing when you're released.
He was, and he would tell me, like, I love you so much. And, whatever, this and that. We'd have these long drawn out messages and whatnot. And, he just, at the end of the day, like, I watched this man fall out of love with me. And it was...
How long did
just
it take
the saddest
from the time
thing
that he came home to the time that your relationship officially ended? Did he move in with you when he came home?
So that was this is what kills me, is like, that was the plan.
Mm-hmm.
That was the plan for a year and a half, was that, 2 years
He's gonna
almost.
come home to a safe,
because he had to go to the halfway
home.
house.
Right.
He had to go to the halfway house for a little bit. And so the plan was that he was going to move in with me, and we were going to, start a family. We were going to get married and, whatever. And, because that's what I wanted. More than anything, I wanted to be a mom.
Right.
And so, but I also wanted, it to be him. I wanted him to be the father of my child. I wanted the whole thing. I just wanted to start a family with somebody. And I felt like he was the person. And, he just, like, I had to watch this person, like, just, like, not really answer, not really, whatever. And then all of a sudden he said, like, oh, I don't want to move in anymore, but I still want to be friends with you, but I still want to be in a relationship with you. Then it was that he did want to be in a relationship with me, but then he didn't want this, but then he wanted that. But it was never to be with other women. It was just that, and he was eventually with somebody else, and it broke my heart. But, it was just a situation where, I felt like, why am I not enough for this person? Like, why can't I just be, the person, that this person wants? Like, I've done everything for him. I've done everything with him. I stood by his side throughout this whole sentence. And, for a while there, I thought, when he initially got out, we had sex, and I felt like he said he didn't like it, but he didn't say why. And for months, like, it was a situation where I felt so bad about myself. And then it turns out he came back, like, a few weeks ago now, recently. And I outright asked him. I finally said, what was wrong with the sex? And he literally said, because I felt so bad about myself. And he said, oh, it wasn't the sex. It was where the sex happened. It was because we had sex in the back of the car, because, it was like, the halfway house was tracking him, and it was like a whole thing.
He couldn't come to your house.
He couldn't come to the house. Couldn't come to my house.
Right. Because it's like community control. I'm assuming you have to know where you're going.
They had to know. And then they'll send you right back. So
yes, for sure they will.
That's
they
where
do not fuck around.
Yeah. And so I thought it was such a magical experience, even though wherever it was, because of the fact that it was our first time.
Yeah.
And I loved him. I was in love with him. When we kiss, it's just, to me, it's like so amazing. And, and just seeing him again recently, I just saw him again recently, and, it was just, he just ghosted me again. And it was just like, he would never do that when he was in jail. Like, even after he got out initially, he was not like that. So
is that the worst thing that a partner has ever done to you? Do you feel like, because you feel abandoned?
The worst thing is what he did to me, before that, so right after he got out, before he left the halfway house, when he was right around the time he was supposed to get out of the halfway house, he had totally like just started like not really answering me too much after we had sex that time. This is again the same time that he said that he didn't really like it, and he didn't say why. And I was so upset about that. And so, I also, another thing, like, I wasn't doing too great mentally at that time. And, so I was a bit clingy. And so just at this time, literally, this was like a matter of a week. And then I got my shit together. But I was just, sending him a lot of texts and checking in with him and whatnot. And he just stopped, he wasn't really answering too much. And so then finally I said, I'm sorry, I can't do this with you. I can't be with you because, I really need somebody that's more responsive. And, I'm worrying. I'm sitting here over here worrying like whether you want me or not. And
right. That's not a good feeling.
It's a horrible feeling. Like just because you don't want to communicate with me that you went to work or that you're on your lunch break or that, you got home afterwards. Like, and I don't ask for much. And now I'm realizing that I should ask for more.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you are worth it. You are worth the work. You are worth the time investment, and you are worth letting him stress on how to level up to be the provider and the man that you need.
Yeah. And so he ended up, like I told him I broke it off with him, and he said, I literally, he said, it's literally been, 1 day. He said, it's literally been 1 day. And, he said, I can't do this either, whatever. And so then I sent him another message, a few days later. And I said, hey, I was just, really anxious at that time. Like, I really don't want to end things with you. I just would like to, like talk, whatever.
Clarity.
Can we talk about this? Yeah. Whatever. No answer. And I just started losing it at that moment. I just start like thinking, oh my God, I really lost him. I started sending him like text after text after text, but not like in one time. Like I would wait a few days and then send another one, wait a few days and then send another one. And he just was not answering anything. And I was devastated.
That's the worst.
And I was literally sitting there lying on my mom, bawling my eyes out, crying, like making a whole face, like just dying in my own tears. Like, why is this happening? And he, that wasn't even the worst thing that happened. So finally, what I realized, I forgot that he was under my network, or not my network, my phone plan.
Yeah.
Even though he was paying his own phone plan, he was under my phone plan.
Right.
And so what I did was I just, in the middle of the night, something told me, shut off his phone.
Right.
Shut off his phone. And so I went to the next morning.
Yeah,
I went to where was it? I'm forgetting. T-Mobile.
Right.
And I said, is there a way to shut off this phone plan without him knowing that I'm doing it in the moment I'm doing it, and just wait till it's like absolutely done? And they said, yes, we're going to do this. Originally they said, no, we can't. We need him to come in. But then I just begged them, because I said, listen, this is a bad breakup. I just need for you to cut the insurance, cut the phone plan. And
I don't want to be responsible anyway. He can come. He's a big boy. He can come in and get
if he's paying it.
Yeah.
And, the only reason I did that.
I don't want to have any connections. Let's just cut
the
all
the only reason I did this in the first place is because of the fact that, he was in there, and so he wasn't going to have a phone when he got out. And so I was like, how is he going to, he's in the halfway house. He can't go to the phone store. Like, how's he going to communicate with me? How's he going to communicate with other people? So I got him a phone.
Right.
But, but it's not like, I bought him a whole expensive phone. I just got, like a little cheap situation. iPhone, and then, whatever. So tell me why, literally, I turn off the phone. He calls me. I'm every name in the book. And like, he's screaming at me, he's cussing at me, he's whatever, this and that. And I just hung up the phone. And, so I tried to, he sent me this long message through somebody else's phone, and said, I don't want anything to do with you anymore. I never loved you anyway. Like, yada, yada. He was
nasty
just,
and angry and bitter.
Absolutely nasty. And I was so devastated. He said, don't contact me or I'm going to call the police. And it was so dramatic because, like, I didn't even
say a big deal.
Send any text
or
anything.
Banging on his high chair is all he's doing. I can just picture like a little 2-foot man with the fucking grown man's faces.
Yes, that was exactly what was happening.
Banging on his high chair because he's not getting his way.
He's like,
he's
no
longer able to manipulate you.
Mm-hmm.
So now that you're seeing the situation for what it is, you're taking your power back.
Exactly.
And he has no other way to exude power over you and to control you if you are no longer vulnerable to his manipulation and you see the things for what they are.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, they don't when you take your power back.
Exactly.
They don't like that
do
shit.
Not like when you take your power back. Especially, they're because they think they can walk all over you for however long.
Because you tolerate it for some point.
Because you tolerate it because you love them. But at the
once
end of the day,
women are done, we're done.
Yes. And that's what happened was, but I wasn't done. And that was my problem, is that I was still going back. And so he literally just said, I'll call the police on you. And I got so upset.
Coward.
Yeah. And so I felt so horrible. He's like, you sound crazy right now. You're crazy. and, you know, whatever, like, no guy is going to ever want you besides me, and like all types of stuff. And that
baby, there's going to be plenty of men that want you besides him. Let me tell you.
And
I love it when they say shit like that, because I'm like, let me show
you. You're about to see this.
Baby, don't play me crazy.
Yeah. So, you know, it was so devastating, so upsetting. And he didn't talk to me for months. And then he recently came back like 2 weeks ago, and you know, he was...
Leave him on red.
Yeah, I went to go see him because I was just like, I have to talk to him. I have to find out what was wrong with me. Like, it was so, like, I was so upset. You know, like, I have a lot of insecurities. And, you know, so that was my problem, is that, you know, I was just like, you know, I have to find out what's wrong with me. And, you know, so I found out, he told me, he's like, there was nothing wrong with you. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. I'm so sorry that I told you that. He said, I didn't even mean for you to pick it up that way and think that way. Like, he can be a sweet person, but when he gets mad, he gets vicious. He gets very terrible. And so there's something I want to tell you guys right now as well, is that if somebody is sending you mixed signals, if they're nice one minute and they're hot and cold one minute, you know, they're cold one minute, they're hot the next, whatever it is, just take it as a no.
Yeah.
It's just a no. Okay?
If you don't know, it's a no.
Because one of the best sayings, one of the biggest sayings that I believe in for myself right now, and that I use for myself, is if they wanted to, they would.
Absolutely. If he wanted to, he would.
If he wanted to respect me, he would. If he wanted to show up for me, he would.
Yep.
And so that's something that I'm just going by. And, you know, I finally blocked him, and, you know, it's done, and that's it.
So that brings me to my next question, which was like, what is the best advice about sex, love, intimacy, and relationships that you've ever received? Who did it come from, and what was it?
Yeah. If they wanted to, they would. That was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, men will move mountains if they believe that you were the right one.
And
for
I've
them,
seen it for other people, and that's how I know for myself, is that I've seen some horror stories, but I've also seen some, you know, some situations where, you know, they're so, like, they work so hard for this person's attention. They, you know, they have the biggest displays of affection and flowers and dates and romance. And I'm like, I know that somebody can treat me that way. It doesn't have to be that way. So, you know, that's it. If they wanted to, they would.
Have you ever considered dating someone of the same sex? Would you ever?
Let me tell you, I had a little, when I was like 15, I had a moment of experimentation. Mm-hmm. Very small, but, and it never really went too far, but I just don't think that I have it. Like, I don't think I'm bisexual.
Right.
And I think that was the problem. It was like a little curious moment, because I think women are attractive, period.
Right.
Women are very attractive. Like, women can see when another woman is attractive.
Right.
And, you know, you can easily, you know, see a woman and, you know, be attracted to a woman and, you know, whatnot.
Doesn't mean you'll move
forward
with
a physical, mean that, like,
relationship.
I think I realized, like, you know, come time to, like, now it's time to, like, you know, kiss somebody, or, you know, and I'm like, lipstick. Or, like, you know, I'm just thinking, like, this feels wrong. Like, It's not, you know, it
wasn't
feels,
for you.
It wasn't for me. I think it came from my confusion. It came from, you know, my sexual abuse and whatnot, where, you know, you think of experimenting sometimes when you're not really feeling that. I think that can make you wonder sometimes if you're gay, if you're, you know, because especially if you were, you know, abused by the same sex, then it's sometimes it's like, well, did I like it? Maybe so it's confusing for a child. So.
Do you believe that because your father was not present in your life, it has created a void in you that you have tried to fill with intimate relationships for men, and you continue to run into essentially emotionally unavailable men?
Absolutely.
Because that was the dynamic you had with your father.
Absolutely. You know, there was always this sense of trying to find a man that will fill that father role for me. Originally, when I was little, I would, you know, ask for a dad on my Christmas list. I used to say,
aww.
You know, what I would want, like my mom, you know, my brother's list would be like cars, you know,
material
Transformers,
things.
whatever. And I would say a dad, a house, my own room, and a little sister.
Oh
And
man.
yeah, and like that's what I would say. I just wanted a dad. And then, finally when by the time I was of age to get a dad, I was, it was just a weird situation where I'm like, now I feel like I was sexually abused and now men make me feel uncomfortable.
Right.
That are so it's
I'm
like
better off without one.
either I place the man in a sexual, like I sexualize fatherhood, or I completely, so I sexualize fatherhood so much.
Right.
Because my uncle was like a father to me.
Right.
When he did what he did to me. And so it was this sense of like, I'm sexualizing fatherhood, but I'm also like, uncomfortable by it because of the fact that I sexualize it. So like the men that I date, I want them to be, like that daddy kind of energy, like I call them daddy, whatever this and that. Like for me, that was how it was. But then, for on the other end of, the spectrum when it comes to like my stepdad, he couldn't even give me a hug for years.
Right.
I wouldn't let him hug me because it made me uncomfortable
Right,
because I'm thinking, oh, he wants a sexual relationship with me, when really he's just trying to hug me.
He's showing affection.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I mean, I was just saying, like, it was just very, very, like, it's just a terrible experience. And finally, just recently, like a few years back, I started letting my stepdad hug me. And,
that's good that you're starting to heal.
It started with hugging me from behind that made me feel better rather than like hugging from the front. That felt less sexually
it felt
intimate.
More safe.
It felt more safe. Like, oh, I'm trying to give you a hug, but, and show you affection, but I'm not trying to, hurt you. Like my stepdad, had to go through a lot with me. To make me feel comfortable again and safe, with anybody that was like 40s to 50s that was around that age range of my uncle, I couldn't, like, I just didn't want to hug them.
Don't touch me. Yeah.
I didn't want to hug them at all.
I totally understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever date another person that was in jail or coming out of jail because of the experience that you had? Would it limit your dating, where you would pick from the dating pool?
Yeah, I'm trying, this is the thing, I'm trying not to, because of the fact that it, like the way it went before. And the fact that it's possible that I can put all my eggs in one basket and then they can just literally be thrown out and thrown away, and my love is just dumped out. And just the possibility of like, you cannot guarantee. So would I date somebody that used to be in jail? Maybe.
Right.
But would I date somebody that, like they have to be out first, I'd say, so that they can I can get an idea of, who they are, how they feel. Right. About me, and that I'm really who they know it
without the need for somebody, because most people in prison need another person.
Exactly.
Whether it be for emotional, physical, financial, whatever, or even to like just have someone as an errand person.
Right.
They have the need for somebody. Would you said you wanted children. Would you ever date a man that already had children?
Yes.
I could see you really thriving.
Let me tell you.
As another mother.
I love like babies, children. Like they make me so happy. More than anything, I want to be a mom. And so, for me, like with my issues, my fertility issues and whatnot, it's hard, it's not, everybody else can kind of just like, oh, all they have to do is just have a one night stand with somebody and then they can have a baby. Like for me, it's not that simple.
Right.
And so, that's always something that I struggle with within myself as well. But, I always love the idea of like adopting or like, instant family sort of a situation where the guy already has a child, but as long as it's not crazy baby mama drama,
right?
I would love to be with a guy that has a child.
I could see that being good for you. Have you ever thought about intentionally practicing celibacy just to love yourself for a little bit? Because like you have so much to give. Like you are smart, you are well spoken, you are personable, you are eager and you're exciting, you know, like you've lived a really interesting life. And I feel like you have so much light and so much joy inside you that when you find the right person, it's going to just be there and it's just going to happen for you. Have you thought that maybe if you were to go like intentionally celibate for like a long period of time and just focus on your own growth, that man will just come to you and find you? Because that's what I believe is going to happen for you.
Yeah.
I believe that you're going to blow up from your podcast and you're going to love yourself more than you have ever loved yourself, and then more than anybody else has ever loved you. And once that falls into place for you, the men are going to be lining up. But we're not going to be taking numbers, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be waiting for that right moment when everything just clicks and the stars align, because that is what my big hope for you is. Like I said, you bring me so much joy. I barely know you. I just met you the other day, but you bring me so much joy because you're so honest and genuine. And you just don't find that these days when you're dating. It's really a scary world out there. There can be amazing experiences, don't get me wrong, but we women in general really need to think a couple steps ahead, right?
Right.
And I just want to see you where you get to a point where you're like, I love myself so much. There is nothing a man could do for me that would bring me down or that would really even boost me up, because I am my number one fan.
Right.
Right. And I feel like once you have done that work for yourself, because you are lovable and you're beautiful. Like, you know what I mean? Beauty comes in all shapes and sizes. And there are men that love women that are mixed, that take up space, that are loud, that are dominant, that are smarter than them, that are funnier than them, and that just light up a room. And that is, all of those things are you. You know, you are not defined by your size, and the amount of like lovability you have is not defined by like what you look like on the outside. And I just want to make sure that you know that, because at the end of the day, you could be the best looking woman in the world and a man will still fucking cheat on you.
Yeah.
You could be the smartest woman in the room, and a man, if he's not right for you, will still tell you that you're stupid and he wishes he had never married you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can be the best mother in the world and still have a man leave you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I feel like the real love and the real success for you is going to happen when you have that undeniable, like, just infatuation with yourself. And I hope that, like, when you go home and you look in the mirror, that you see the same beautiful person that me and all my viewers see.
Oh, you are so sweet. You just, I'm not going to cry.
I'm not either, because I do it every
time. Because I'm like, you know, listen, I have mascara on today. I don't have them lashes. So, you know, but, you know, thank you so much for that. It's just so, it's those words, it's so important to hear that. And it's so important to speak life into yourself, but also other people.
I don't say shit I don't mean either, too.
And I don't either.
Yeah. I'm pretty like, well, that's that. That just is what it is.
Yeah.
So. But this was really an amazing time. Thank you so much for being my second interview. And I really would like to follow up with you in 6 months.
Yeah.
Because I'm really hoping that in 6 months you're going to say, girl, I love myself so much I haven't even started looking for a man, or he found me.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm down. I'm down to do this
we'll do it. Thank you so much.